Welcome everyone to Tuesday Tea Time. I am here with water instead of tea because it's too beautiful to be drinking something warm today. I'm out with the horses just above the pond where Ari likes to play now, for any of you guys who saw the announcement for tea time today. I wanted to talk today about gratitude. There is nothing that irritates me quite as much as unbalanced gratitude. But that's a very personal issue. Not everybody has that issue. I wanted to address how we might go about having balanced gratitude and why that might be important, even if you're not irritated by unbalanced gratitude the way I am. So, what is unbalanced gratitude? Unbalanced gratitude is where the glass is always half full and you refuse to acknowledge the half empty side of the glass. And I get this a lot in the types of people that are attracted to my work. There's a lot of pressured gratitude that happens where we want to acknowledge everything good that happened with the horse and just pretend the bad things didn't happen. Now, I acknowledge this is a powerful form of training. So it's not the end of the world to really focus on the good things that happen and ignore the bad things. It's a very powerful part of training. But what I find is if we don't acknowledge the difficult things that happen with horses, we don't come up with a good plan to help them out. How do we make their life better if we're not willing to acknowledge the ways in which life is difficult? So when I work with my horses, even though I tend to work in freedom and I really like them to get to make their own choices and live in a place where they're very comfortable and accentuate being in the comfort zone and work with them in ways they would choose, I really want to acknowledge that not everything is perfect. Some of our work is uncomfortable. Now, it can't be hugely uncomfortable because they just leave if it's hugely uncomfortable. But we have to acknowledge that there is always a contrast. Things are never 100% good or 100% bad. They are some mix of good and bad. And we're going to take that awareness, the things that aren't going well, they motivate us to make a plan. How do we make that go better in the future? And the things that do go well, we mark them, we memorize them, we remember them, we accentuate them, we develop from them. Those are the more important part. I definitely, if I was going to suggest that perspective of positivity versus negativity or gratitude versus difficulty, the gratitude would definitely want to be at least 80% of what we focus on. But there has to be some balance where maybe the frustrations are 20% of what we focus on. How do we make this better for our horses? How do we improve our horses' lives by acknowledging the things that maybe aren't working? So, hi Christian, I'm glad you could join for tea time today. So this theory is really important to me, and I just started a practice with a bunch of my students in preparation for an app that I'm developing for everybody that can go on your phone for note-taking. Ironically, this app is all about gratitude. So when we work with our horses, what was the best part of our session? And being able to mark it down in a way that's quick, that's easy, that accumulates, that really develops our ongoing appreciation for this relationship and builds a really strong foundation. So I like to emphasize that, absolutely. And what my students and I are constantly working on and experimenting with is how do we mark the positive points, make them the most important, make them the most memorable, and then use that 80% basis for acknowledging the things that aren't so good, seeking out the things that aren't so good, using the things that aren't so good as motivation to come up with a plan to make the horse's life better. So yeah, thank you, Christian. I'm really excited about the app. It is in development now. Don't have a release date for you guys yet, but I'm very excited about the concept. And it is a concept that I'm using with my students all the time, and I'm really liking the results. So in each session, if you can come up with a really short, definitive way to appreciate exactly what you did that day, what it does is it leaves a lasting memory of the good things. And when we have a really firm basis of gratitude, then on top of that, we can take a really strong look at the things that are wrong, a really strong look at the things that need improvement without feeling too overwhelmed by it. So this basis of gratitude is actually what allows us to look at discomfort without being too overwhelmed by the discomfort. And so this is a practice that I've been doing for a while now, and I've been helping students do it. And I break it down into 5 categories. You may have heard me mention them before. When we watch the horse, what's 1 or 2 words about watching them that feels the most important to us? Now, this might be a gratitude thing. This might be a difficulty thing. It doesn't really matter, but what feels most important? When we affirm a behavior the horse thought of all by themselves, we didn't help them with it. They just came up with the idea by themselves, and we affirm it by matching them, by mirroring them, by giving them time to remember it. What's our 1 or 2 words for that moment in our session today? Something the horse thought of themselves that we went, yes, that, let's do that again. And then supporting, what did we cause? How did we help them feel better? How did we help them use their sensory system or exercise their sensory system in a better way? And then from there, assertive. What did we ask the horse to do that was really easy for them? And then from there, what did we ask the horse to do that wasn't easy for them? Okay, that's not probably going to be a positive thing, but maybe it feels positive once you break through the other side and you get through the difficulty. So that's what I call the persistent practice. So if you can come up with 1 or 2 words for each one of those categories, that's sort of your outline of notes. Then what we've been doing is just make a little 30-second video, 1 minute tops, very, very short, and talk about what your favorite part of the session was. What was your favorite thing that you did with your horse today? And what this does, I find, is it gives you a baseline of gratitude. And when you have a baseline of gratitude, you can take a deeper look at the things that aren't working. And you can take a harder look at the things you really want to improve without feeling overwhelmed. That's pretty valuable to me. So I thought I'd share it with you guys and see if maybe it's valuable to you. Christian says, at what ratio? I heard once 1 time demotivation needs 7 times motivation to be balanced out. So that's a pretty good ratio, Christian. I don't think there's a hard science to it. I tend to use the 80-20 rule, which is for every 8 good interactions, I'm willing to risk 2 difficult interactions. So I would rather it was 1, but sometimes it's 2. And that's going to end up right about where Christian was suggesting, 1 to 7 versus 8 to 2. It's somewhere in there that works out. We need a baseline of gratitude and appreciation and remembering the good stuff. And then we're going to tackle some of the tough stuff. And then we're going to come back, make sure that our baseline of gratitude and appreciation is firm, and then build on it with something a little bit difficult. And that sort of balance, I find, is what we're looking for. It's not that I don't appreciate gratitude. I do appreciate gratitude. I use it all the time. But sometimes I've had an issue with things like a gratitude journal because I feel like it becomes unbalanced. And when it becomes unbalanced, we're not addressing the difficulties that are real, that are getting in the way of a better life. So Christian's saying 4 to 5, he's heard from clicker trainers. before you proceed to next tasks. Yeah, so there's a bunch of different people talking about this. How much gratitude do we need to make sure is there as a basis before we really tackle the things that are difficult and hard for the horse? This also is part of our human psyche. So when you finish a session, when you take notes or you try and remember your session, yeah, it's definitely okay to mark down some things that were hard or that were not so good or things you want to remember need to be worked on. But they shouldn't be the majority of your notes. The majority of your notes need to be about what went well, because that's going to give you the confidence and the motivation and the appreciation to be able to really tackle your problems successfully. So I encourage you guys all to, use this idea. If you want to have a gratitude journal, that's great. Just try and have it be balanced. The balance between the positive and the negative, the balance between the good and the bad is where you're going to find the best quality of life. And absolutely, let's lean towards the good. I'm all about that. I did say that tea time was going to follow a bit of a format. I'm going to do it at 2 o'clock every Tuesday for a while. Going to try for this consistency idea. I am also going to have a little bit of a formula where I tell you the thoughts, the theory that we're going to talk about. Then we get into it a little bit deeper. And then I'm going to finish with a bit of a story. So I, as you guys know, have been traveling a little bit this spring. And when I get home, about the first week home, I don't do a lot. It's a lot of resting, catching up, repairing things that broke while I was gone, getting organized. Then I get into the real work with my horses. Some of you guys know that I have a friend, Raz, here, who's behind me, who is my main riding horse right now. And one of my favorite things about Raz is when I ride him, even though I haven't done a lot of work with him, he very naturally loves being ridden. I don't know what part of his history gave him such good associations, but he has a firm basis of gratitude when it comes to being ridden and going out and doing things. And one of my favorite things about riding him is that, for the most part, I can turn him off my fingertips. I don't have to pick up my reins. Even though I haven't built a strong training regime with him, it's just a thing that he and I both appreciate. So when I use my fingertips, I can turn him to the right or the left. He's light, he's soft, and he's engaged. So that means that when I turn him, the inside ear on the turn flicks back to check in with me, and the outside ear on the turn flicks forward to check in with where we're going. And this is a pretty reliable thing, which I think is absolutely beautiful. When I write down in my balanced gratitude training journal about Raz, this is a thing that I often appreciate, because that appreciation for something that comes so easily to him and I, this would be in the firming thing. I ask him to do something that's very easy for him. And knowing that we have that we, sure, maybe it's not 100%, everybody has bad days, but for the most part, it's a thing that we can lean on, and it feels fantastic. So this week, I started riding Raz out, and then Ocasio, my little gray who's down by the pond here, there he is. He's my horse that needs a little extra exercise, but he's not a ridden horse at this point. So he's going out being ponied off of Raz. And it was really fun to add to that gratitude and notice that he can lean on the things that Raz is good at. So as Raz and I practice our little turns to the left or the right, from one side of the road to the other, or down one trail or down another trail, I can see Ocasio watching. I can see him soaking it in. He's getting a little bit of second-hand training just by rubbing up against somebody else that loves something that he hasn't done yet. And that's exciting for me. I love accidental training for the good. And so that's a little story about one of the things I'm particularly grateful for this week. it's certainly balanced with a lot of things I still want to work with and things that I want to improve for both Raz and Ocasio. But it gives me a base of support, and it lights up my synapses and my senses when I remember it. And it gives me the confidence that we can tackle hard things together and make them better because we have a basis of something we love. That's a little bit of a complex gratitude. You can also have really simple ones, but I thought I'd share that one with you because it's particularly exciting to me this week. Kristen says, in training sessions with my pony Wotan, I usually analyze the worst moments, but I remember all the joyful moments that Wotan did himself. Yeah, that's the balance right there, Christian. Christian asks if it fits in this episode, how's Atlas doing these days? Atlas is doing really beautifully. It was a bit of a hard winter for him. He is getting older and he has some allergies that come up, which I am working with. But he is getting more and more emotionally stable. He's the rock. He's the center of my herd. You can see him right behind me. He's right there with Ari. Everybody loves him. He's everybody's best friend. And I love having a horse like Atlas in the herd that really is a solid citizen for everyone. Never did I think that would be the case when I got him and he was trying to kill everyone. But here we are years later, and he is my rock in the herd. And everybody gravitates to him. Everybody wants to be near him. Everybody wants to be around him. And it just feels fabulous. We're coming into spring. Everybody's health is improving. And we're getting back into all of our training. Thanks for asking, Christian. Yeah, learning from horses is my favorite. So when I work, I generally work out in the herd. And all the horses around get to see what it is that we're working on in a balanced way. They get to see the things that are good, hopefully 80% of my practice. They get to see the things that are hard. And hopefully we work through some of those things that are hard. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me for tea time. I hope you enjoyed the story and the theory. I'll be back next Tuesday, 2 o'clock. And after that, I'll be headed to Europe for a 6-week teaching tour in Switzerland and Germany and the UK and Indiana, and then finishing up at the California Horse Expo. So I hope to see you guys at any of the stops, and have a wonderful day.